All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, otherwise known as Optimize Self Ninjas and Ninjets, and welcome back to the Optimize Self Show. As always, I'm your host, Justin Archer, aka Sensei. And for those of you joining in, watching the show for the first time, basically what we talk about, what we do here is all about crowdsourcing knowledge and, more importantly, experience in an effort to help you and others rediscover your health, upgrade your fitness, and or optimize your wellness, all while having fun kicking ass through lifestyle design. And we got a pretty good show episode, I guess you can say, today. Today's kind of, I guess you can nickname the do not episode. So today's topics we're going to talk about do not wipe before you poop. This is obviously pertaining to health, fitness, and wellness, not word for word, actually bowel movements. Do not try to accelerate with your foot on the brake, and do not try and treat symptoms. More on this later. More specifically, things like straightening out shoulders and what to do when you have chronic pain, various symptoms all over. Okay, so all that and more coming up on today's show. Let me click off the intro here, say hi to everyone watching, and for those of you that have been watching for some time, I'm happy to say that I do actually have a new lower third that my wife Anya helped. Unfortunately, I don't have it up to date because I forgot to upload it to YouTube Google servers. So probably for one more show, we're gonna have to deal with the quick on-the-fly one that I'm making right now. That's me, for everyone wanting to know, and that's where you can find me over at optimizeself.ninja. All right, so with all of that out of the way, let's get to the first topic. Of course, we play the Optimize Self drinking game to stay hydrated. Every time I switch topics, I take a drink of water, and I would love for you to join me. All right, cheers. All right, topic numero uno, wiping before you poop. What I mean by that is I want to take a moment to talk about sequencing and prioritizing in terms of foundations of health. Now, for those of you maybe tuning in for the first time, you're wondering, like, what am I talking about, foundations of health? Well, this is based on kind of something I put together called the Optimize Self System, and it's basically foundations of health, basically everything contributing your life to your overall health, because health is accumulative, right? So things like breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, exercise. And then although I don't include them as foundations of health, I would say two things that are always positively or negatively influencing those foundations of health would be your environment and your mindset. All right. So what I mean before wiping before you poop, there is a method to the madness, the Optimize Self system. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I get a lot of questions about exercise. What exercise should I do? What order should I do them in? You know, how many times a day should I do them, and exercise this and exercise that? Now, as the sensei of the dojo, please first let me fall on my own sword and say a lot of this has to do with how I promoted and marketed myself in my previous endeavors, meaning that before OptimizeSelf.ninja, I had a website. Technically, I still do. I just don't add to it anymore, called the postureguide.com. I'll make sure to include it over on the show notes, and by show notes, I mean in the description area over on YouTube. If you're not watching, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's right below where you're watching this. If you're watching this on OptimizeSelf.ninja, just click the title of the episode at the top, and it'll open up, depending on your browser settings, a new tab or window. And down below the YouTube video, you can see the mentioned links, as well as timestamps for this episode. All right. So, sorry, off that little directional tangent, I got lost. So on the postureguide.com, what I was doing was helping people get out of chronic pain, help them relieve chronic pain through the use of postural alignment therapy, basically so as to restore balance to certain muscles, tendons, ligaments, to pull the bones and joints back in proper alignment so that your body wears evenly and functions properly, thereby, you know, not having any chronic pain symptoms. Right? Makes sense. Well, over the last few years, I've learned to kind of look outside that and go, okay, well, if someone, for example, has anterior pelvic tilt with lordosis. That's the butt stuck out, big arch in the lower back, and they have lower back pain. Well, yes, you can do corrective exercise to correct that, but what are the environmental, both in their body, things like their shoes they're wearing, where they work, how they work, all these other things, breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stuff like that. What are the things that they're doing most often? What is the stimulus that they're receiving, whether they want to or not, that's contributing / causing these symptoms? And can we change that so you don't just have to do more exercise, more corrective exercises? So, because of that, and because of all the posts I put out over on thepostureguy.com, a lot of the questions I would receive were exercise-based questions. They weren't things on nutrition. They weren't things on sleep and things like that. So that's fine, and I love answering those questions. Please, hear me out. But something that I've learned over, again, an accumulation of 13 plus years experience, investing tens of thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars into helping not only myself, my friends, my family, my clients, basically everyone that I love and care for, is that exercise alone is not enough. You and everyone else, we're all more than exercise. And exercise is important, don't get me wrong, but I would say out of the 7 foundations of health, it's the least important. Literally, if you think of a pyramid, right, with breathing at the bottom, the next one, hydration, then sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and then at the very top, exercise. And exercise is not the top of that pyramid because it's the most important. It's because in order to get the most out of exercise, you want to make sure all those other foundations of health are in order, meaning they've been addressed. And they don't need to be perfect, but you want to, probably be 80% or more optimal in those areas to get the most out of exercise, and to make sure that exercise isn't detrimental to you, because you may go into exercise with all good intentions, but unfortunately your body doesn't really care about your intentions. It really cares more about how those other foundations of health doing, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, where are you in terms of there? And that's going to determine, kind of predetermine, the results you get from any exercise, quality and or quality of those exercises, okay? So what I would recommend you or anyone watching to do is to go through the foundations of health like a checklist. And this is what I do myself when there's something I'm looking to improve on, or something that I feel like I'm lacking on. Like, hey, today, lately I haven't had a lot of energy, or, cognitively I haven't been functioning as well. Is start at the bottom, with breathing, and then check through, hey, are you breathing right? Yes or no? And inside the Optimize Self Dojo, which is a private accountability / support group with access to various tools, guides, and resources that I put together. You can learn all about it over at optimizeself.ninja. I go I go a lot deeper and wider. Literally, I take you kind of by the hand and walk you step by step on how to evaluate and how to improve each foundation of health. Okay, there's a module inside of each for breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and exercise, as well as how to configure your environment and your mindset to support the other 7 foundations of health. Okay, so that's what I recommend: is go through the stages. Go through the stages and foundations of health, because there's I always tell people stages are different than phases. Phases you go through onto something else. A stage is something you build upon. And the foundations of health are not phases. You don't go through optimized breathing and then move on to hydration and the others and forget about breathing. You do the breathing, and then on top of that, you stack hydration and then sleep and so on and so forth until you get to exercise, all right? So go through the foundations of health, which are divvied up into stages like you would a checklist, okay? That way you're very thorough, and you can see, kind of evaluate, am I missing in any of these areas? Now, if you haven't already, I would definitely recommend you take the Optimize Self test, which if you go to optimizeself.ninja, at the top of the page, there's a logo, there's a video player where you'll be able to see this video, and in the upper left-hand corner, there's a playlist. Click there, there's a drop down of the, 18 episodes you'll be able to see. And then under that video player, there's an orange button that says click here to uncover what's holding you back. And that's where you can sign up and put your email list on there, submit there, and you'll get a link sent to take the Optimize Self test. And inside there, you'll be able to rank yourself on the foundations of health on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best. And you'll also be able to ask me some questions inside, which then I will answer in an upcoming episode of the Optimize Self show. And that test will help you come up with higher quality questions, and it'll give me the information I need to more accurately advise you as to what to do. Or, for example, like today we're talking a lot about is what not to do. Okay, so check that out if you haven't already. The Optimize Self test found over on optimizeself.ninja. Because your results that you get from the Optimize Self test will determine where you start. I still think it's important that, like a checklist, you look at breathing. How am I doing? You know, evaluate, check. If you're doing well, move on. If not, stop there and address it. And then go to hydration and so on and so forth. I won't keep repeating the list, but I think you get the gist. Hey, that rhymed. But definitely do that. And then depending on the results of your test, you'll see where's the low-hanging fruit. You know, maybe you're good in a lot of areas, but sleep and stress is maybe a 2 or a 3 out of 10. And you know, okay, that's where you need to focus a little bit more of your time and attention, because going from a 2 to a 6 is going to get you much better results than going from a 9 to a 10 if you're already a 9 out of 10, say in exercise or in nutrition or something like that. All right. Let's see what else. Yeah, and all of this is to build your well-being on a sound foundation. Just like I said, think of a pyramid with each foundation of health. And the reason they're sequenced in that order, with the most important on the bottom, breathing, right? Because if you're not breathing, I don't just mean, well, obviously if you're not breathing, you're dead, then nothing really is important after that. But since breathing has the biggest impact in our ability to live and ability to function properly, it's the most important. The next would be hydration and so on and so forth. And if you even go backwards, you think about how long would you be able to survive without, say, exercise? A lot of people don't exercise, so, and they may not be the healthiest, but they're not dead, and you know, for all extended purposes, they're fine. So you're not going to die from a lack of exercise. You may not perform at 100%. You know, and then you look at the next foundation health under that, and then under that, and so that's why they've been sequenced in that order. It's an order of prioritization. Okay, from the most important being at the bottom, breathing, hydration, sleep, and then as you go towards the top, towards exercise. Although important, it's not as urgent. It's not as big of a priority that you take care of those first. Okay. And yeah, as you go through the checklist, you work your way up to certain foundations of health. So, you know, I think exercise is important, and especially postural corrective exercise can make help relieve symptoms. But if you don't address the other foundations of health, which are contributing to the poor posture, which is the cause of your symptoms, then you're always going to be doing this kind of 1 step forward, 1 step back, or worst case scenario, 1 step forward, 2 step back dance, if you don't address the lifestyle that caused the posture, which you're trying to correct. Corrective exercises, postural corrective exercises alone. All right. So that's what I meant when I say, you know, wiping before you poop. Don't, you know, it doesn't make sense. You know, there's a certain order here. There's a certain sequence. If you guys still have questions about exercises, please don't let this put you off. I love them, but I would really enjoy it, especially if you haven't already. Go to optimizeself.ninja, take the Optimize Self test, and that will help you much better formulate better quality questions. And I think as you go through it, you'll start to go, okay, I had this question about exercise, but now that I take this 1, 2, or 3 things that maybe I didn't think about contributed to this question I was going to ask, now that I do, I may rephrase this question. I may ask a completely different question. And so that's why I recommend people take the Optimize Self test, and that's why I always, when someone's taken the test, I always look at that first before going over to other questions. Okay? So that covers the wiping before you poop topic. Let me grab some water. We'll move on to topic numero dos. Excuse me, that was poor Espanol pronunciation. All right. So this one is kind of goes together with the previous topic of don't wipe before you poop. This one is you want to make sure to take your foot off the brake when trying to accelerate. Or I guess if we were to stay with the whole do not theme, is do not have your foot on the brake or brakes, plural, when you're trying to accelerate. By which I mean that neglecting certain foundations of health will only take away from others, thus holding you back. So again, a lot of people seem to get fixated on exercise. A lot of people believe, we've been led to believe, I think, in society that exercise is the quickest way to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. I think exercise is a part of the recipe. It is not the entire recipe in and of itself, okay? I don't think it's also fair to put the onus of your health, fitness, and wellness, your well-being on exercise alone, because again, like I said previously, you, I, all of us were much more than exercise. And actually exercise depends on what it is you're trying to attain, meaning are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to get out of chronic pain? Are you trying to get over some sickness or illness? Oftentimes though, exercise, unless you're actually trying to improve, for example, on, you're a runner trying to get a sub 4 minute mile, or you're a marathon, exercise is usually the least efficient way to attain and maintain whatever your health, fitness, wellness goal is. It is important. Again, please hear me, because I just expect I'm going to get some comments and people go, oh, well, no, you need exercise. Yes, I agree. You need to exercise. What I'm trying to do is shift the fixation, what I refer to as the single factor focus blinders, which are just on exercise, exercise, exercise. And occasionally some people go, oh yeah, exercise and diet, to, okay, I can exercise all I want, but if my breathing mechanics are poor, I'm breathing with my auxiliary breathing muscles most of the day when I should be breathing with my primary breathing muscle, the diaphragm, and I'm chronically dehydrated, and I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. Well, guess what? No, doesn't matter the quantity, quality, doesn't matter who your trainer is. No amount of exercise is going to make up for a suboptimal lifestyle. And trust me, there's times that I wish it could be true. I always tell people, don't kill the messenger. I just try to understand how the human body works and then communicate it to others. I didn't design it. If I did, you know what? I think I would probably build a switch in it somehow so that sometimes you can circumvent poor lifestyle choices with some extra exercise. Yes, I'll have that cheesecake. All I have to do is run an extra hour. Unfortunately, that is not the way it works. And I'm not even talking about calories. I'm talking about a whole lot of other stuff that we're going to save for another episode in of itself. All right. So like I said, don't get fixated on any one particular foundation of health, whether it be exercise, diet, or anything. Try to step back. The way that well, there's a couple ways, that metaphors, analogies that I use, but the one I'll use today is if I said, if I kind of blindfold you, took you into a forest, spun you around, put your nose to a tree deep in the forest, took the blindfold off, and then said, okay, find the forest. And all you saw was pretty much almost darkness, because all you could see was a trunk of a tree. You couldn't, because your nose is right to the tree. But if we backed you up, right, from that tree, you'd start to say, oh, there's a tree. Oh, there's another couple of trees. And then if we backed you up into, say, a clearing where you can see, oh, there's the tree line and it goes all the way. Hey, there's the forest. Back up a bit, almost like taking a camera that's like this, zoom out. I know my camera just autofocused there. Zoom out and try to see the whole picture, try, it's like walking around with a camera with the not auto zoom, but basically having it zoomed in all the time. It doesn't work. So try to zoom out, look at the body as a unit, because that's the way it was originally designed and the way that it functions, okay? And keep in mind that if you are trying to, let's stick with exercise, if you are trying to improve something through exercise, then it's important to remember that the quality, the result that you get from exercise is kind of predetermined. There's almost like a ceiling of results that's predetermined by the quality of your other foundations of health. If you're chronically dehydrated, there's only so much that exercise is going to do for you. And if you are, your breathing mechanics are all off whack, and you're breathing wrong, there's only so much exercise that can do for you. Heck, there's actually only so much you can exercise because you're getting a suboptimal amount of blood and oxygen to your body and to your brain. If you're chronically sleep deprived, it doesn't have to be chronically, it could be just the last day or two, and which puts you in a pre-diabetic state, there's only so much exercise can do for you. Now, granted, I'm picking on exercise today. I don't mean to, poor little exercise. This could also, you can substitute nutrition or any other foundation of health for just exercise. The only reason I'm saying exercise so much is because that is the one that most people become fixated on, all right? So if you think also too of if you were in a car and there was 7 pedals, that'd be a really confusing car to drive. I have difficulty even with a stick shift and a clutch. But if you had 7 pedals and you had one accelerated pedal over here and you're trying to accelerate, right, say an exercise, but then you would apply the brake to nutrition or to sleep or anything, every brake would thus slow you down or hold you back. You don't want to try to be accelerating in one foundation of health, like exercise, while simultaneously applying the brake because you haven't addressed or you've neglected or overlooked some of the other foundations of health, all right? So hopefully that makes sense. Take your foot off the brake when trying to accelerate. Okay, let's move on to the next topic here. Moving along pretty well. Okay, Jim McKee comments on a YouTube video that I put up. This was in my posture guide days. This was a video post called Correcting Common Posture Deviations, Shoulder Elevation. And I'm going to link to this video post in the show notes. Again, this will be on YouTube. So if you're watching this on optimizeself.ninja, just click on the tab on the top, open up a new tab or window, and then you'll see the video, and then the description below, and you'll see timestamps and mention links, and that's where you'll find the link to this video post, okay? So Jim McKee, excuse my fidgetiness, I'm just, I always got to practice what I preach. Your next position is your best position, so I move around often, sitting on the floor. All right, so Jim says, hey man, great video. Quick question, the shoulder that hurts is not my elevated shoulder. Should I focus on trying to release tension in my non-elevated shoulder that hurts, or the elevated shoulder that feels fine? So Jim, thank you for your question. My answer is don't try to treat the symptom. I always tell people, unless you were shot, stabbed, pushed down some stairs, or hit by a car, the site of the cause is rarely, if ever, the same as the site as the symptom, okay? So treat the cause, not the symptom, by using the free bilateral exercises which are included in the original video post. So if you go to the post, it's thepostureguy.com/educational/correcting common posture deviation, shoulder elevation. Don't worry about remembering all that. It's all in the show notes below. But when you go to that, inside there'll be 3 exercises. I believe, I'm going off memory here, standing elbow curls, floor block, and cats and dogs. Check me on that, Jim. I think I'm right. Those 3. And they're hyperlinked to video tutorials where my wife, Anya, and I will be showing you step-by-step how to get into them, how to do them, what feel like, common mistakes to avoid, that kind of thing. And do those 3 exercises. And again, they're bilateral. So you're going to be addressing both sides, regardless of if one side hurts or isn't. Because here's the dark little secret about all the postural corrective exercise routines I put together, is that they're actually not for your symptoms. They're to treat the common cause or causes, meaning which postural dysfunctions, compensations, basically misalignments, that often cause whatever the symptom is you're dealing with, okay? So this, just like the title says, this is to address shoulder elevation, not shoulder pain. But usually people with an elevated shoulder do have shoulder pain, and correcting it will either relieve or hopefully eliminate the symptom altogether. So you don't have to worry about addressing one shoulder and not the other, because you're going to be addressing both, regardless of which side is the symptom. Okay. And again, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is treating the body as a unit. Like I just previously talked about, taking consideration that human body is a stimulus response organism. It responds to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. It's important to remember that it's what you do the majority of the time that matters, not your best intentions. So exercises are important, but 3 exercises, although will help improve your elevated shoulder, if what's causing it is you, let's say, for example, you are right-handed. I forget if you said here, but let's just go with a story that you're right-handed and you're always reaching down to work a mouse or a trackpad, and you're reaching down and forward. If you're doing that, well, how often are you doing that? Probably a lot more than you're doing 3 postural corrective exercises. So doing this motion is always going to outweigh the corrective exercises. So it's important to assess, evaluate, whatever you want to call it, review your life in terms of how am I doing in breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and exercise, and what can I change to help support the efforts I'm attempting to make with these exercises to even out my shoulders. Okay, and Jim, I can give you even more precise advice and guidance if you would do me a favor and head on over to optimizedself.ninja and take the Optimize Self test. Basically, when you go to the website, you'll see a logo and a tagline, a video player where you'll be able to see this and other episodes of the Optimize Self show, and directly under that will be a big red-orange button. I think it changes when you put the mouse over it. It says, click here to uncover what's holding you back. Click there, put your email in, and then you'll be sent a link along with a welcome email saying hi. And that link will send you to the Optimize Self test. You can take that, and that will give me more information that I need so that I can better advise you. Right now it's kind of general because I need a little bit more information on you. So if you can do that, I would love to follow up with you on an upcoming episode of the Optimize Self show. All right, but thank you for sending that question in. All right, thanks. Okay, and let's move on. Is this the last one? Second last one? I think this is the last one, but I think it's a little bit longer one. So let me grab some water. Okay, so this one is from Jillian, who emailed just after joining my email list on thepostureguy.com. Jillian, let me say welcome to the Posture Guy family, and now that you're part of that family, you're also part of the Optimized Self Ninja family as well. If you're wondering, like, oh my gosh, what I get myself into, basically OptimizeSelf.ninja is simply the successor to thepostureguy.com. It takes everything that I learned and applied there with people and kind of takes it to the next level. It's a little bit less single factor focus type of approach to health, fitness, and wellness, and kind of takes a more diverse, multi-pronged approach. Okay, and if you go to OptimizeSelf.ninja, you'll quickly realize, okay, I get what this is about. All right. So Jillian writes in, and then I have some responses, some notes I made here. So excuse me while I read this. Jillian says, "Hi Justin, I found your website after some internet searching one day. After it dawned on me that all of my small aches and discomforts might be due to bad posture, there's a long list, and while they are all on the mild to moderate side, when taken all together, I realized I am in a lot of discomfort a lot of the time. Until 2 years ago, I groomed dogs for a living. All the bending and lifting, squirmy, uncooperative dogs really did a number on my back. I will turn 30 this spring, and I feel too old. Now that I've quit, I am no longer in horrible pain. Some days I could barely walk after work, but the tips of my big toes are numb, and as are the sides of my hips even 2 years later. My neck hurts most of the time. I have fancy pillows and this year new bed, which both helped a lot, but ultimately didn't cure the problem. It starts at the base of my head and goes down the middle of my back, and some days wraps beneath my shoulder blades. I get headaches. I wear Chuck Taylors and flip-flop sandals almost exclusively. I also read a lot, which can cause me back and neck pain, but I can't give it up. When I got it in my head that better posture would probably help me, I looked up correct posture and tried to sit like that at work, which is now a desk job, and realized I couldn't really do it. Sitting with my feet flat on the floor is hard for me. It's so uncomfortable. I also tried getting out and walking more, which my dogs enjoy. I'm sure they do. But it hurts my lower back if I walk while standing straight, and it hurts my neck if I slouch in my regular posture. I realized I needed to do something in order to get my body into a condition where I could comfortably sit and stand with good posture, hence looking for exercise and finding a website. I am looking forward to it. I think it said something like sincerely, Jillian. So Jillian, thank you for sending in the email. And for those watching, thank you for sticking through as I read that. So I think Jillian said a couple things here that I think are important to point out that, you know, and Jillian, I'm going to say is she. I might be wrong. Every once in a while I get this wrong. But I'll go with she, and sorry if it's he, apologize. Jillian, that you're dealing with several symptoms, none of which are severe, but add it all up, it adds up to a lot of discomfort. And yeah, I would say agree to that too. Total health or lack thereof is a cumulative. You know, it's a part of a process, not an event, both getting there and getting out of. So that's important to remember. You also mentioned, you know, how, you know, about where was it, grooming dogs, and now the desk job and all the things. And I would, on one side, I would say, you know, what you do is an important factor to how you feel, your health, your fitness, your wellness. But it's not as important as how you do things. Sitting, contrary to popular belief, is not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. It's how you sit and what you sit on. And I know that you've already attempted to try to sit with you know, your feet flat on the floor and things like that. You know, something that I would recommend is try to configure your environment, your desk, your chair, even your shoes, to help accommodate you being able to sit with better posture rather than you trying to just focus and will it to happen. You mentioned you wear usually Chuck Taylors. That's fine. That's pretty flat sole. I'm trying to think the height of the sole from ground to actual foot inside the shoe, but there's no heel drop. Flip-flops, the only problem with that is to keep them on so they don't fling off your foot unless they have a heel strap. You have to grip your toes. You may, and even people say, oh no, I don't have to. Well, you're doing it on some levels consciously. Otherwise, every time you walk forward, your foot would, your sandal, your flip-flop would fly off and break something or hit someone in the face. So I would suggest ditching the flip-flops, or at least getting one with a heel strap, so your toes don't have to kind of crunch to keep it on. The Chuck Taylors are fine. Look at other minimalistic footwear that's neutral heeled, meaning your heel is even with your toe box. Great reference for this, I would check out birthdayshoes.com. I believe it's .com, not .org. I think it's .com. Justin Owens over there runs a great website, really good resource for looking at minimalistic footwear. You know, adjust the height of your chair. I mean, I know there's tons of various ergonomic chairs. I'm not going to get into that, but just maybe lowering it so your hips and knees are more at a approximately 90-degree angle, lowers your feet to the ground. Making sure your monitor is at eye level, things like that. Also, how to do things you mentioned. Let me find it here. Where was it? Oh, it said you also read a lot, which can cause back and neck pain, but can't give it up. I'm going to jot down a note as soon as I'm done recording this episode, so hopefully I don't forget. If I do, Jillian, please get on me on this. But to link up a video post I did back on the postureguide.com about how to enjoy reading pain-free. Yes, there's a right and a wrong way to read in the pertaining to, if you want to read and not have pain. There's some good ways to do that. Same also for watching TV. I don't know if you watch TV often, but if you do, there's one for that too. But I'll definitely put up the one for reading a book. I guess a short little deal about that. Let me grab something. This is like a manual for something, so it's not exactly a book. But a lot of people, when they read down here, and yeah, they're looking down at something versus having something up here, bringing their arms and shoulders up, and then bringing their head up and back. So bringing, just like instead of eating food like this and bringing your head, your mouth to your food, bringing your food to your mouth via like a fork, knife, spoon, and having maybe the bowl up here, it's the same thing. Bring the book to you. The other thing is, although I love the ideal behind reading, I like it, but seeing as how I run a business online, I spend enough time looking at a monitor. I also really enjoy audiobooks, so there's that too, and you can listen to audiobooks while you walk and do other things. So I might also look into that. Let's see. Also, you should have access in the welcome email that you email me off of. If you go to, I'm pulling up here so I just get this right. There's a link in there that says exercise video tutorials. If you click there, you should have access to, it's 16 inside the Optimize Self Dojo, which you want to learn more about inside the Optimize Self First Aid Kit over here in optimizeself.ninja. I've actually upped it to 20, but through the link that you have, you should have a link to 16 exercise routines. And they're designed to treat 16 of the most common chronic pain symptoms. And in there, you'll find one specifically for the symptoms that you mentioned. Things like hip pain, lower back pain, neck pain, headaches, migraines, as well as foot pain. And what I would recommend is start with whichever symptom you feel the most. So a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst. If your hip is a 10 and your lower back is a 9 or something like that, whichever hurts the most, start there. It's up to you as far as how much time you want to put into it, meaning you can do multiple routines at once, or you can do like one in the morning, one in the evening, maybe even one in the middle of the day. But yeah, you can start with those. That's a good resource to start with. And again, just start with whatever is aggravating you the most. And then you would move on after that. Usually a routine for a week or two should be good. Just bear in mind things that I talked about previously, and I know I'm going to be sending you a link to a timestamp in this video, but you may want to go back earlier on in the episode where I talked about don't get too fixated on exercise alone. That's a slippery slope that a lot of people tend to go down. So keep in mind that exercise is a part of the recipe. It is not the entire recipe. Things like your breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, all those things actually matter much more than simply exercise alone. Exercise is important, so by all means, do one or more of those exercise routines that you now have access to. But make sure that the other foundations of health, the other parts of your lifestyle, are supporting your efforts in the time and effort that you put into the exercise routines, so that you get the most bang for your buck, so to speak. All right. Let's see what else. To help. I think you said you had some neck pain, headaches, migraines, and you said about sleeping. You got the fancy pillow. You got a new bed. So something that you can do is that I would recommend is do 5 to 10 minutes of static back. I'll link to it in the show notes over on YouTube, but yeah, I'll link to it on there. But also in one of the routines for like hip pain, lower back pain, neck pain, I know there's static back in there too. It's basically just lying your back with your legs up at a 90-degree angle, resting on a chair, ottoman, something like that. Lie there for 5 to 10 minutes immediately prior to going to bed and just relax. And what you'll be doing is, it's like warming up for bed. And I know it sounds weird because a lot of people don't think of sleeping as an activity like you would say warming up for soccer or to play basketball. But it is, because you think about it, you're putting your body in a position for roughly 6 to 9 hours, depending on how much you sleep, and asking it to more or less stay there. So the better aligned body that you can bring into bed, the better aligned body and more functioning body and better feeling body you're going to wake up with. So 5 to 10 minutes static back is going to be great. It's going to help remove rotation out of your hips and torso. It's going to help elongate your entire spine. Basically, it's going to use the weight of your body and gravity in opposition with the floor kind of being a giant ruler to get everything back into alignment. You can also, too, to feed more blood and oxygen to your brain, to your body, while also simultaneously calming your central nervous system, is while you're there, I would suggest practicing some conscious diaphragmatic breathing, by which I mean breathing in and out through your nose at roughly a 1 to 2 inhale to exhale ratio. So for example, 3 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Doesn't have to be exactly 3 to 6 seconds. Find what's comfortable for you. But something roughly about 1 to 2 seconds. Sorry, not 1 to 2 seconds, 1 to 2 ratio inhale to exhale. And that'll be good to, again, feed more blood and oxygen to throughout your entire body, help re-engage the diaphragm, your primary breathing muscle down here. That'll also help internally massage from like the inside out your lower back. It'll help reposition your hips and pelvis. It'll help elongate your spine, your neck being, yes, a part of your spine. So it'll help reposition your head and neck, feed more blood and oxygen to your head, thus relieving your headaches and migraines, and it'll help put your body, like I said earlier, in the best position possible so that when you go into bed. Now, once you get into bed, again, try to configure your environment to the best of your abilities, by which I mean 0 to 1 pillow under your head, because you want your ear in alignment with your shoulder, so your head's not being thrust forward. That'll cause neck pain, headaches, migraines, other head and neck-like symptoms. So 0 to 1 pillow under the head and 1 to 2 pillows under your knee or kind of lower leg area. And what that'll do is it's almost like a mini static back position, and it'll help put the pelvis in a more neutral position. It'll help unload the pelvis, and the lower back should help kind of feed some slack into the tight musculature that's probably going on in your lower back. It'll keep you kind of from tossing and turning, and should be relatively just comfortable. Every once in a while, people need a little bit more under their legs, like 3 or 4 pillows, but usually 0 to 1 under the head and 1 to 2 under the knee / lower leg area. Okay. Let's see. You said you do enjoy walking, but if you try to walk upright, I know it can be painful, and if you slouch forward too much, it can be painful. You know, walking is beneficial. It's great for you, but only if it's pain-free. So keeping that in mind, what I would suggest is take what the body will give you. If you can walk for 5-10 minutes pain-free, then walk that 5-10 minutes. But we should also look at is, think about, what did you do before you walked, right? What did we all do? We crawled. So I would suggest doing some crawling, both before you go for a walk and after you go for a walk. And it's just simply, you know, hands and knees crawling like you did when you were a kid. I'll crawl backwards, and then I'll kind of crawl towards the camera here. And it's just opposite arm, opposite leg, and, you know, basically keeping an arch in your lower back, keeping your head up so that you can see where you're going and you don't run into a wall or anything. But crawl around for 3, 4, 5 minutes. That'll help actually with some the cross pattern, the swinging of the arms and legs. It'll actually just reactively start building some muscle and some endurance in your arms and shoulders. And it just feels really good. I always tell people, if you want to feel like you did when you were younger and function like you did when you were younger, start moving with caution, but start moving like you did when you were younger, right? Kind of act your way into feeling rather than trying to feel your way into acting a certain way. Let's see. And this is something I've said probably already once or twice on the show, but it definitely bears repeating. Keep in mind that total health, meaning total health being not only the absence of pain, but also the absence of limitations. Total health is an cumulative process. All right, it's not an event; it's a process. It's a process that got you into it. There's a process that takes you out of it. And remember that your body is a stimulus response organism that responds to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. So it's what you do the majority of the time that matters, not your best intentions. So do the exercises, but really, again, like I mentioned earlier in today's episode, is look at the foundations of health: breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and exercise, as well as things like your environment and mindset, and go through them as a checklist, okay, and gauge yourself. And actually, what I would recommend doing, the next kind of call to action, if you will, the next step to take, is go ahead, go over to optimyself.ninja, and underneath the video player where you'll see this and other episodes, that's where you can play them, you'll see a orange-red button that says click here to uncover what's holding you back, and click there, and that's how you will you submit your email, and you get a link to take the Optimize Self test. And this will really help you kind of review, or I guess you can also say evaluate, how you're doing in each of these areas of your life, what I refer to as the foundations of health. And with that information that you submit, as well as that'll help you form better quality questions, more specific, which will then help me, along with the information you submit, give you better quality advice and guidance, okay? So that's what I'd recommend to do next. And I think that about covers it. So Jillian, thank you very much for your question. And I'm gonna grab some water and let's close it for the day. All right, so yeah, that was actually a good show. Covered a lot of topics. Let's see, last but certainly not least, if you aren't already a member of the Optimize Self Dojo, and you heard me made reference to it a couple times before, and some of the things inside, certain modules, certain trainings, tools, guides, resources, accountability group, support group, masterminds, weekly live trainings, all that's included inside the Optimize Self Dojo, which is a private membership area, right? And you can learn all about what's included inside by simply going to optimyself.ninja. Right below where I just told Jillian to click to take the Optimize Self test, just scroll below that and you'll start to read everything that's included inside the Optimize Self Dojo. There's a whole bunch. Actually, just in 1 year of membership, you'll get $3,650 worth of value. But don't worry, don't let that number scare you. You can get started actually today for as little as $17. Each membership that sells after that goes up $1. There's a limited amount this year. So definitely next year it's going to turn into a more premium membership. The price will go up. So the reason I'm telling you this now is because I love rewarding people who take action, that take responsibility for their health, that step into the ring with me and love to interact. You know, really, first and foremost, the Optimize Self Dojo is an accountability slash support, you might even say slash mastermind group. It's where we can crowd source knowledge and, more importantly, share our experiences, put our heads together and find solutions for one another. You know, granted, I will, as humbly as I can, say, yes, I probably have the most experience in there now because I've been in the health, fitness, wellness, let's put it on the umbrella of making bodies a better world for 13 plus years now. But I truly believe that everyone inside has something to offer, meaning that, you know, everyone is a student and everyone is a teacher. And I think we can all learn from one another. So for every person that joins, I think the value of the group grows exponentially. and you can interact with each other there. I post daily short Catalyst of the Day videos, or short little 15-second videos in there. We every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time do live trainings, aka hangouts, where you can come on live and ask me anything. You can come live on video with me if you would like to do so. And then also inside you get access to the Optimize Self Arsenal, which is basically a collection of all the most important tools, guides, and resources that I share with my one-on-one and retainer clients, which I do also offer. If you did want to work with me one-on-one for an one-on-one session for, let's say, an hour, hour and a half, or if you said, hey, I got multiple things I want to work on, it's probably going to take a month or a couple months. I also do have a few retainers left that you can sign up for, and that's at the very bottom of the page over on optimizeself.ninja. So if you scroll to the very bottom, there's links to where you can get that. But I'm a big believer in the minimum effective dose. So even though the people sign up doing individual sessions, at $300 a pop, and retainers, which range anywhere from $500 to several $1,000s, depending if it's a monthly, quarterly, 6-month, or 12-month retainer, is great. And I would appreciate the business. I'll be frank with you, I've actually limited those amounts. I used to do a lot. Actually, it used to be my whole business model. And I've switched it because I want to really focus on the Optimize Self Dojo. I think, and that's what I would tell you to go now, is actually I would suggest saying buy the smaller, cheaper thing that I'm offering, because I think you also get way more value, especially right now with the cost being so low. But even when it tops out more towards, say, $365, you're still going to get 10 times worth of value, and you can always go back to it. It's not just a flash in the pan or a one-time thing like an individual session, which, although is good, and if you chose to go that route, I would love to meet with you and deliver you as much value as possible. With the dojo, I can be of continual service, which I can in the retainer, but that's quite a bit pricier. So that would be my recommendation. If you're on the fence of, what do I do next? Do I do a one-on-one session? Do I do a retainer, or do I join the dojo? I would recommend joining the dojo, and I know that'd be maybe kind of unorthodox, right? Someone who's selling something telling you to buy the cheapest thing that they offer, but I think that it actually holds the most value. All right, and assuming that you're someone that truly is interested in becoming the best version of themselves possible, so that you can go out and positively influence other people's lives, then I can already say that I would love to have you as a part of the family, and that's why I'm pushing the Optimize Self Dojo. All right. Anyways, I think that about covers it for today. If you haven't already, if you're watching this on optimizeself.ninja, please head on over to my YouTube channel, and you can do that easily by clicking on the title of this episode at the top. You can also just go to youtube.com/optimizeselfninja, but I think clicking on the button's easier than typing all that in. I think you would agree. And while you're there, please like this video, share it with someone who you think could benefit from it. I know they would appreciate it. I would appreciate it as well, and you would be both of our heroes. And subscribe if you haven't already done so. That way you can stay up to date with all the recent happenings and going on inside of the optimizeself.ninja ecosphere. Okay? Anyways, thank you for joining me today. You guys are awesome. I love you, and I look forward to seeing you inside of the next episode. Until then, take care. Be a good human.